Nothing happens without an idea, and no idea can be fully developed without research that then needs to be squeezed into 1 or 2 sentences called a thesis as part of developing an outline for a paper, presentation, speech, or even a video for your YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you an easy to follow 4-step process on how to get through what can be the most challenging process for some people to create, writing the thesis. The thesis statement is usually 1 or 2 sentences that should be worded as simply as possible and contain the central idea that informs your audience of what you're going to talk about in your papers, presentation, speeches, and videos. In a speech, the thesis statement appears in 2 places. The first place is in the introduction section, and then again as part of your conclusion that we'll talk about later in the series. A good thesis clearly states what your main topic is, what the reason or purpose for your speech is about, and includes all of your main points without fluff or extra wording. A common misunderstanding that many of my students had with the thesis statement is that they often confused it with the purpose statement. They're not the same. The purpose statement lets your audience know what type of speech you're about to present, such as being informative, persuasive, entertaining, demonstrative, or the many other types of speeches that you'll learn about in this series that'll be linked in the description too. Here's the easiest and most effective way to create your thesis that I coach my students to use. If they could do this, so can you. Here's a really important tip. Before you can even begin to write your thesis, you need to know the purpose of your speech and have an idea of what your speech is going to be about. This means you have to have completed researching your idea to develop it into at least 3 main points. To learn more about researching your idea, watch the video also linked in the description that walks you through that process. Speaking of processes, before we get into the 4 easy steps, I would truly appreciate it if you could take 2 seconds to tap that thumbs up to let the YouTube algorithm know you found this valuable enough to share with other people who might find this valuable too. And of course, consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't have to search around for my channel every week to learn more about tips and advice I teach you to make your work easier and more efficient. Thanks. Step number 1 is to write out what your speech is aimed at accomplishing. The purpose. Think of this as the action that you'll be presenting. To do this, write down what the purpose of your speech is as in these examples. To inform you about, to persuade you to entertain you with, to show you how to. Of course, this will vary based on the type of speech you'll be delivering, but hopefully you get the idea. But if not, and you need more help on this, leave your question or concern in the comments and we can discuss it further to get where you need to be with it. Step number 2 is to craft your 3 main points into concise descriptions using as few words as possible that still make sense. This means no explanation or details. Your goal for this is to have the stripped down, bare bones basic idea of each of the main points, nothing more. Step number 3 is to write your purpose along with your 3 main points in the order of how they're going to appear in your speech into a grammatically correct sentence. This means simply list them out like this. Today, I'm going to inform you about how to write an outline that includes an introduction, the body, and a conclusion. That's about as simple as I can make that. But does this make sense and feel smooth? This one, maybe. But each thesis is different, and your own unique style of delivery and writing can have a lot to do with that. That's why the 4th and final step in completing your thesis is the most important and should never, ever be skipped. Ever. Read your thesis out loud. Seriously, read it out loud at the volume you're going to present it at, not just silently in your head. The reason for this is that your thoughts are not interrupted by breathing. If your thesis sounds clunky, then it is. If it doesn't make sense or is too wordy or awkward when you read it out loud, then it is. To fix it, try to edit out any excess words that are probably the cause of the over-wordy, clunky issues. If it's awkward and doesn't flow right, you may need to add a second sentence to break up the flow and give it more clarity. Again, it just depends on your style of writing and your ability to have focused main points. If you're not shy about it, you can post your rough draft thesis in the comments for help. Or to create a specific thesis, you can follow the link in the description to check out how I can help you privately through my personal coaching that you can learn more about on my Thinkific course page. Now that you have more knowledge of how to use the 4-step process to create and write your thesis, how are you going to get someone to even listen to it in your introduction? Watch this video next to learn more about 6 engaging attention getters that'll grab your audience's attention at the beginning of any speech, presentation, or video. And I'm not just talking about a hi or hello. Remember that my goal is that your success in school, work, and life beyond is the goal. I'll see you online soon.